On today's episode of Real Estate on the Rocks, we're going to talk about the 5 reasons you aren't closing the sale.
Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
That's me. Hey guys.
What's up, Dave?
How we doing?
Rocking it.
Excellent. All right, joining the studio today, I've got Marshall Tucker, my wingman.
Hey, that's me.
That's him. Yep, that's that good.
That's
guy
you.
right there.
That is me.
We got the new guy over here, James.
What's going on?
He seems a little bit disconnected from life today.
That's James.
I'm here.
He's got his head buried in Facebook ads, right where it should be, actually. So I do
It's a
appreciate
good life.
that.
Is that where you got
I do
that fresh
appreciate
haircut?
Life.
Yeah. What's that called? The Facebook what? Facebook.
What, Blueprint?
Yeah, Blueprint certified. Faceprint.
Feels like it.
Faceplant.
Feels like it sometimes.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, real quick before we get started, I wanted to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you've got time, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. You have to do that right now while we wait. Yeah, right. So,
I don't have the music for that.
all right. Let's talk today about those 5 reasons why you aren't closing the sale. This has been a topic that we always kind of go over, and we want to always, I'll start at the end. We always want to make sure that we're asking for the business, right?
Right.
And so how do we go about that? How do we build up to that? How do we build that anticipation so when we get to that certain spot, we can ask for the business? And what's that look like? You know, I don't like the term like, what can I do to be your realtor today?
That's awesome.
Nothing. Get out of my house.
You made a 2% discount.
Yeah, right. So the 5 reasons you aren't closing the sale. Let's get into it. What's number 1, Marsh?
Number 1 would be you didn't build a strong enough relationship with the client.
So let's elaborate there real quick. I would summarize that as being you didn't get them to know, like, and trust you.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's build on that a little bit. So how do you go about getting people to know you? So you've got a fresh relationship with somebody that just called in on one of our listings, right? Mm-hmm. And so, hey, Marshall, I want to see 123 Main Street. Okay, sure. And then take me from there. How do you get to know that person a little bit more?
You got to ask great questions, and you start asking the questions. You want to get to know them, as much as you can over the phone. You want to interject a little humor when you can, right. Because you get them laughing, you get them to drop their defenses a little bit, and then they'll actually start giving you more information.
Right.
And so once you get that, that's one of the reasons that a lot of people I hear shy away from having people ride in the car with them. Oh, they're not getting in my car. I love it when they get in my car because then I don't have to worry about them carpooling to the house, and then I can build that rapport with them inside the car. What did you like about that house? What didn't you like about that house? And you just keep building that rapport with them. So if something does happen or get a little shaky, they don't leave you for another realtor later on. They stick with you to the end, and they have that trust in you.
Right. So, you skipped a part.
Yes.
How do they get to like you?
Well, I thought I said that. You throw a little humor in
is
there,
that
and you ask those great questions.
Why are you moving your head like that? I wish people could see that. You're like the Night the Roxbury, I just get to humor a little bit and just slip them something over here into their drink. Into their no. So number 2 part of that. So first we want to build a strong relationship. We want to get them to know, like, and trust. We want to build rapport with them. So we find common things that maybe we touch on that they have the same interests, and you get there by having qualified questions, right? Mm-hmm. So these are part of scripts, I believe, right? So you've internalized a lot of these questions because it'd be kind of hard to come up with questions, but you've internalized
who, what, where, why, when.
There we go, boom. And so those are the easiest things, right? Who are you? Where are you from? Why are you looking, and what's bringing you to town, and when can we do this? When are you looking to get into something? And so that builds the initial. Now, those questions aren't going to go away. Through all 5 of these steps, you're pretty much going to need these same steps, right? So, and it's going to, by the time you get to the 5th thing or the 5th reason why they might not be buying with you, realize that all those questions are still in there to build this rapport. This is a process, right? So typically people that we meet right off the bat, they don't do business with us immediately, right?
Right.
And so, so you didn't qualify the buyer. Give me a little bit there. What's that mean?
Well, first off, find out why they're moving. What brings them to town? Why are they here? Is it family? Is it a job? What kind of timeline do they have? Are they starting this job sooner than later? And do they need to be here sooner than later? what are the next steps that they have, in their head? What's the process kind of look like for them?
Right.
So that way you can educate or help out, and understand their needs more.
Right. You hit something big there was really kind of how do they see this whole thing going? We do this every day. Right. So we know how it goes. We know that from start to finish, we've done this, certainly a few different times. Maybe some of our listeners are a little bit newer, haven't done it as much as us or much as other agents out there in their marketplace or in their office. But that's a great question to have, is like, how do you foresee this going? What are your objectives? What is your expectations of the next step? I'm just, where are you at in this process? How do you think? Because I might be thinking about, just kind of one scenario, and they've got something completely different in their head, and I'm just going about my business doing my scenario thing and not really worrying about their best interests, and just thinking like, oh, they already know me, like me, trust me, and therefore I'm just going to walk them over here to this house and that's it, right? That typically doesn't go that way, I found. And so I think that's a great question that you hit right there. Cool. And the last one on that one was what?
Budget, because it's not enough just to get a pre-qual letter. You have to know what are the parameters of their financials. What can they actually afford? What can they not afford? Can they do the down payment? Can they do the repairs if they have to? So it's more than just a pre-qual letter.
Yeah, even that, I know that we dive deep on people sometimes, and with their budget. So some people we know they're qualified for $500,000. Should they be spending $500,000?
Exactly.
And so once we get to know them a little bit more, we can see what their lives look like. We can tell that if they pulled up in a Rolls Royce, that more than likely they've got a nice big fat car payment to go along with it. And just kind of break this all down. Is this what you want to spend? You don't have to look at $500,000 homes just because you're pre-qualified for a $500,000 home. Right? Exactly. We could start in the $450 range and see what that saves you. And so just as realtors, a lot of times they expect that. That we would push them towards spending all $500,000. They certainly don't have to.
That's not in their best interest.
Right. So you failed to uncover an important problem.
Doom, doom, doom. Happened to me last week.
What was their important problem?
They had some student loan debt that they didn't really discuss, talk about. I didn't think it was important enough to bring up. And we got all the way to, we got pretty far into it.
You did inspections. You were just about, you were out of option, or you were out of option.
We were out of option. We had to pull in a financing.
You had to pull in the financing. Oh, god dang. So that had to be a little bit uncomfortable for the seller. You're the buyer on that end, right?
Right.
The seller had to be a little bit.
It was disappointing for all parties, but it is what it is. So
I bet. So what could you do better next time?
Make sure that those kind of problems are discovered a little bit earlier on. So I didn't realize that she had her credit pulled a little bit sooner than when she started the loan. So it kind of elapsed by the time the loan came around. And then when they pulled the credit, they found it. So really just kind of staying on top of that with the lender, I guess, to make sure that no more surprises come out like that.
All right, James. I feel like James is just not here today. We did introduce him, correct?
Yeah.
James Mendez, the new guy's in the studio.
I'm absorbing.
There you go.
There's a lot of stuff that, especially being new, that you're just going to like gloss over because you see somebody who's like, hey, I want to buy. All right, cool. So you're just going to rush out and find a house and put it on contract and you're done, right?
Commission breath.
Yeah. So like there is a lot of stuff that you need to find out as their finances, how much they have in pocket to pay for closing costs, for any repairs, for a lot of that stuff that you probably don't know, in the beginning that they're going to have to be financially responsible for. Just to, get all the documents and take possession of that house. There's a lot of money. Oh, there is a bit of money that they need to have in hand and able to
yeah, certainly if they have to know the whole process. I mean, we get a lot of phone calls for the listings we take, and it's, hey, will you show me the house? And some people get it. Realtors are split on this. If I get a call on 123 Main Street and say, hey, we want to see this at 6 o'clock, there's a lot of realtors that will run out the door and show them at 6 o'clock with them being unqualified, not knowing if they can afford the house.
Yeah.
If they're qualified for that much, if it would be a huge letdown if they fell in love with the house. That's what I always hate. I really do, and I present it that way, is that pain versus pleasure type thing is just kind of like, hey, I just want to make sure that, you're qualified because of, and I always take it up. If we're looking at $400,000 homes and you qualify for $600,000 homes, I would say, let me show you some $600,000 homes. And then it could go the other way also, and then, cause I never want to like tell anybody that insult them and say, hey, look, You know, by,
You might not qualify for this
By the look
house.
of that T-shirt and flip flops you got going on over there, we should probably be looking about $150,000 homes. You know,
I was always
you
told
never
about
want to say that.
assuming that they're needing a loan and not cash.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean that's you do that great. I've never really kind of adapted that, but you do that well. It's kind of like, so how do you plan to, you know, is this all cash offer? And they're like, no, and usually it gets a laugh. Like, I don't have that much money cash.
Me either.
You know, it's like, me either. Yeah, we got some in common. Boom. You know, it's like, there you go. Now they like you just as much. You're one of them. So uncovering an important problem. So you have any other problems? No?
Well, you failed to uncover an important problem. Had another one a couple of weeks ago with the HOA and this whole document that they were asking for. The lender was asking for it. The HOA wasn't giving it. They wouldn't do what they were asking to do. The listing agent had no idea what was going on. And so there's this big, what is going on here? And so I had to dig deeper into that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that wasn't something that you could uncover. That's something that got uncovered, you know, through the process, but you couldn't have uncovered that. You couldn't have known what that HOA's qualification.
Right. I just asked enough questions to where it finally kind of came
Right.
to light.
Right. So now you know, obviously that was a attached condo versus detached condo, right?
Right.
And so most people, their eyes would gloss over at this conversation. However, it was really important because
Well, I knew that. The lender didn't know that. So
right. Well, you knew that after some deep problem solving.
Right. And
You
it's
know?
never been an issue before for them not to know if it was a detached or an attached. You know, usually they go by the appraisal or whatever other information they have.
Right. You think they could just read through the contract and see
Right.
that it's a detached
I think
condo?
I'm pretty sure it said that on the first page, but
Yeah. Well, it was part of the Pentagon, right?
So here we were the
Pentagon
day
Federal Credit
before
Union,
closing
I'm
and
sure they operate just like the rest of the government.
finding out
so.
that problem. Yeah.
All right, so moving on to number 4, the fifth reason why you aren't closing
You
the
didn't
sale.
You didn't explore impact of the problem. Yeah, you didn't explore the impact of the problem. So identifying the problem is not enough. What would happen if X didn't or did happen?
Example.
I don't know.
You're killing me. How do you write that down and you don't know? So
No, I mean, back,
no, really was that right there.
It's back to the same thing for the
Yeah.
school loan. So I mean, if you identify the problem and they have some debt on there, well, obviously you need to bring that up. You need to fix the debt. They need to go somewhere, a credit repair, or pay off their things and get them off, or
right. And so
whatever's
now
needed.
you had a pre-qual, right?
Yes.
What's the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval?
A lot, apparently.
Yeah.
Pre-qual is just the initial screening, and then
Screening
the
of their
pre-approval is, they got the seal of approval. So
right. So, and neither one of them are as good as going to the underwriter. Like
Right.
you can't get to that process unless you go through
You know,
this. However,
I'm-
pre-approval.
never had a listing agent tell me, "Oh man, this is just a pre-qual letter," either. So a lot of listing agents don't even screen that.
No, I mean, because it's
Yeah.
it's kind of a new thing that you even need a pre-qual letter, or a pre-approval to submit an offer. When I first got in the business, it wasn't that big of a thing. Some sellers would ask, good sellers agents would ask, because they didn't want to waste anybody's time. And now most people are just think that you have to have it to move forward to do any type of offer. Like that's what in our instance, Texas Real Estate Commission states that in their bylaws that we have to do this as part of the offer. No,
Right.
we don't. And so that's why a lot of times you hold up on things. And I've had you ask me this and you asked me this.
Waiting for my pre-qual.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my pre-qual before I submit. And I'm like, no, F that. Submit now and tell them you get the pre-qual when you get it. And submit now. That has no bearing on anything. You should at least start the offer. They don't have to accept. But if you wait 7 more hours till you have a pre-qual or a pre-approval, you're not going to, that's 7 hours later than who else could have submitted in that time?
Right.
They could have taken something we do all the time.
We didn't realize that we were interested. So
Right, we'll see something come in and boom. I mean, I took a cash offer the other day without proof of funds for the first 3 days, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot the proof of funds. And so I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I need that proof of funds, and she's like, cool, is a screenshot good enough? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Send it over. As long as it's got their name on it. Yeah, as long as it got the name on it, it looks like a real account. So, and it did, and that closed without any hiccups.
Yeah.
But that was completely my fault.
So also for would you'd consider like their need to move for like a job or something, set in stone of when they have to move, or what if they didn't move in that timeline, say they had to move, from California, in here, and that was going to happen in like October 15th,
Right.
whatever. That
Where
would be
you
something
gonna
you're not
live?
exploring. Yeah, like, okay, so if we don't get you into a house, in your budget, in the time frame, what's going to happen if that, does happen? Or if it, Yeah, if you're not able to, and then what happens if you do, like, pain pleasure kind of thing. It seems like that's kind of where they're going, like part of where they're going for that one, exploring the impact of that problem and what could happen if they don't, stay on top of it, understand their goal, and stay in it.
Yeah, I mean, or just what would happen if your goal date is to be in the house by October 15th when you move here, correct? Okay. So, but you're going to be in town September 15th to look at homes. So in that 24, 48 hours that you're here, we need to put a house under contract, correct?
Yep.
And if that doesn't happen, what's the result of that?
Yeah.
Then you're going to lease. Boom. Number 4, you did not close the sale because you didn't qualify. So if you don't ask those questions and know the objective, and then make it a little bit more, not serious, but just a little bit more, elevate the status on how much you need to look within that 48 hours, that you need to cover all your bases and ask all the problems. Okay. What are the deal breakers of this house? What do you need in the house? You need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it has to be at least 1,600 square feet and have a backyard for your dog. Right? It's got to be in this school district. Okay, now I understand that. It can't be more than $400,000. Okay, now I understand that. And so in that 48 hours, you need to exude all your energy into finding something to get them under contract while they're here, because maybe they don't trust you enough, because they don't know, like, and trust you. They're just here for those few days. They don't know, like, and trust you. So certainly they're not going to buy a property sight unseen because they don't trust you that well. Right? However, after that 48 hours, possibly if you could get till, hey, I know you got to fly back to California, but by Friday, I think there's 2 more coming on the market, or 4 more came on the market. I can go look, I can turn my phone around, and we can FaceTime through the whole thing. And if you trust me enough, we can get this house. We can more than likely submit on one of these houses coming up. And I'll tell you what, if you don't like it, if you move here in a year or 2, you don't like it, I'll sell the house for free.
Boom.
Right? So you just gave them permission that it's okay for them to buy, because there's no real loss on their end other than the fact that they would have to pay for movers. Right? But you've also showed them the benefits through the conversations with them, that more than likely in our market, Austin, Texas, that home in 2 years can possibly go up 10%. So if that's a $400,000 home, that's $40,000, right? That's $40,000 that could go up in value. Right. And so if you had to lease, and you lease for a year in a house of $400,000, your payment's going to be around $2,500 a month. What's 2,500 times 12? Yeah. Right. So that's what you're going to be out of rent. So that's money you're not going to get back. You made that landlord richer. So boom, pain versus pleasure. Yeah. You've made your landlord just a little bit richer. You've paid his house payment for a year or 2, and you got nothing out of it. Versus you go ahead and buy one of these houses. It's not your forever home. If you hate it, I'll sell it for free, right? And you solve all those problems. Now they know, like, and trust you a little bit more. You validated that you're a professional. You know what you're doing. They're not going to lay it all on the line, and I'm going to do it. We get this all the time. We've helped so many people do this. We work with so many out of town relocation clients that this is a problem that we've had to solve over and over and become really good at it. So
that reminded me of another example, is where we had a guy buying a new construction home, and he had a problem. He didn't know where he was going to put his stuff for a week because he had to get his stuff out. So we were able to identify that problem, and we were able to get with the movers, and they were able to place the pods out at their property for the week and then retrieve them later on, saved them a bunch of money. Everybody was happy.
Yep. Solving problems. That's what I like, brother. And those people have given you a referral, haven't they? A couple times?
Oh, yeah.
Once, twice?
Once.
Something like that. All right. So the 5th reason why you are not closing the sale would be?
You failed to connect your product with the buyer's needs.
So you showed them a bunch of stuff they didn't want to see.
Or they told you they wanted to see it, but it wasn't really what they needed to see. An example being that they're telling you somewhere, for instance, far north, and their job is far south. And they want to be, north for some reason, and they're telling you everything, but it's just not matching up with real world needs until you start showing them properties that fit their description, of what they need. So
right,
they'll tell you everything in the book that they don't really need.
Right. One of my favorite clients, we'll call him Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob. So Bob tells me he wants a
builder?
One-story house. Wants a one-story house with an okay sized backyard because he has 2 dogs. He's going blind in one eye, and one of them's more of a service dog. And so he needs the room for the 2 dogs. He wants the front door facing a certain way because they're a part of a certain culture, to where that's very important to them. And he tells me his wish list of everything he wants. So I show them repeatedly everything that they want, right? Yep. And I'm talking like this is about 4 years ago, and I was a little bit more of a novice at this, and I show them pretty much everything in the area, multiple weekends showing. It was good for me because he likes barbecue just as much as I do, so we went to multiple barbecue restaurants, and he picked up the tab, so that was good. I did drive my Dodge truck around, which was killing me, and they did not ride with me. They did follow me everywhere. However, they went to an open house driving down the road one day. Yeah, they found the open house, and they went and they called me from the open house and said, come over here, we want this house. And so I show up. It is the complete opposite of what they've been looking for. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest house in the neighborhood. So we were looking around 24 to 2,800 square feet. This thing is 3,800 square feet. Whoa. Right? It's got a backyard that's as big as a football field with a garden in it and just like this big stone fire pit area, like all these things, right? One of the biggest backyards I've ever seen.
And he probably told you he wanted a small yard, a
decent sized yard for his 2 dogs, right? So they could run around a little bit and that's it. This thing was a football field. And so what else? 2-story. If we were looking at 2 stories, it had to be master on the main. No master on the main. And the front door didn't face the direction they wanted, nor did this inside stairwell face the direction they needed also. They were of 2 different cultures, the husband and wife, and her culture believed in the stairs and he believed in the front door. So it was just kind of like, and so it was kind of like the absolute opposite. And so I looked down and they were paying 4% for the house. And I was like, okay, let me talk to the listing agent, and told her, I think we're going to put in an offer. And she's like, please do. I'll accept it immediately. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we put in an offer, and sure enough, I mean, it had been on the market for like 90 something days. And in Round Rock, Texas, that's just unheard of,
Yeah, that's a long time.
And it was, I bet you it was the sheer size of that damn yard. Was so big that nobody wanted it. Yeah. But anyway, so it was the absolute separate problem. And they were just about 1 weekend away from leasing again. And I had already lost them once. That was the funny thing, was I had already lost them once. We couldn't find them anything the first time, a year and a half earlier. And I lost them once to leasing. And then they leased for lease by owner. So I didn't even get paid. I worked with them for so long and didn't get paid. But like I said, I was a little bit more of a rookie back then, novice back then, and I certainly didn't know what I know now. But yeah, it just, I wasn't asking the right qualifying questions. Now I know to ask these questions, right? And really, they weren't connecting with any of the products I was showing them. And that was house after house after house. I mean, we'd looked at so many damn places. They just weren't connecting. And I almost lost them again. It was by the sheer luck. They actually found their own property. So all I was good for solving the problem there was writing the contract.
Right. Always ask them what their wants are, what their needs are, and then what they're flexible on.
Yeah.
So what can you live with? What can you absolutely not live with?
Yeah.
So
what the not lived with is always more important to me than what they can live with. Mm-hmm. Like
deal breakers.
The deal breakers are the biggest ones to identify in the property searches. And I ask that. I mean, that's one of the first questions out of my mouth. Like mouth. Build me your dream home. And just kind of like explain to me what your dream home looks like. And sometimes, they're super realistic. And I'm like, cool, I know right where that is. I know right where you're looking. And I've eliminated every other neighborhood, and I know exactly where we're going, and where I'm going to start my search. And then they're just unrealistic. And they start saying things like, I want a view off the back. And I want to be on the river. I want to be on the lake. I want a lake view. I want the western view. I want this. I want this. I want this. And, we only want to spend $500. I'm like, well, we've had this client, that, and we actually lost this client. So it was like, well, the minimum you're going to have to do is $750. I mean, it just doesn't exist, that you want $500,000 with the western facing view that overlooks the lake, that has, over an acre lot, that has the outdoor kitchen, that has everything that you want. When you built me your dream home, when you told me about this, I mean, I automatically knew that it was going to be the lowest we could find something is maybe 700. And at that time, there was nothing less than, I believe, 850. I mean, because that's a commodity here where we're from. Is that house, and anything under, it just doesn't exist, or it wasn't big enough. We might find one or two, but it was going to be a smaller 1-story that was more than likely rather dated. Built in the 70s or 80s. That had a decent view, because most of these days in this section we were looking at were certainly old homes on a lot of land, and then they sold the land off and they cut it up, and big developers came in and sold big properties, 3,000 square feet, acre lots, whatever else. And there was the house left on there, one of the homes left behind that was neglected, whatever else. That's what's left. But, they didn't want that. They wanted all the bells and whistles. So we ended up holding off on her, and I continue in my search all the time for that one. So, but yeah, she definitely wasn't connecting with any products out there that we had to offer at that time. So did you ask questions to determine their wants and needs? Did we already go through that? I'm sure we did.
Yeah, and I guess failed to connect your product with the buyer needs. I have another example, I guess. So we had that one property that was in pretty bad shape, and I couldn't find the investor for it. I couldn't, get my wheels turning on it, and they ended up listing with Open Door. And I didn't realize, at that time, because you only know, what you know, that we could have, slid an offer in on there and got a 1% from that.
I'm going to call you out.
So we didn't connect them with the service.
Right. But we tried to connect them we tried to make them an offer and you never made it.
Yeah. I mean,
I just called you out.
The verbal offer, they shot down,
out.
And then they took the offer on paper, which probably was most likely more or less.
Right. So the verbal offer will always get shot down. It's when you put it on paper. That's another thing right here. It's really important for agents to know. It's like you've called to me before and say, hey, I don't really want to write the offer, but I'm going to
bogus.
I'm going to call the listing agent. What do you think? And just ask him if he would accept something for $330, and
no.
I was like, don't do that, man. Go ahead and spend the time. This is the reason why you make, you get paid in proportion of the problems you solve. Mm-hmm. And so you need to solve the problem, write the offer because it's real once it's on paper. I can't tell you how many times I get people that send me a whole text about a property that their client's interested in mine. They'd send me a text basically a text of the offer, like a summary. And it's just like, cool, put it on paper. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, okay, they'll take it. I was like, no, I said, put it on paper. I mean, don't be lazy. Don't be that lazy agent. That's a lazy agent.
Right.
And thinking that they can get away with just that because you don't have an agreement. You go back to your person and say, yeah, okay, they accepted our offer through text. More than certainly, your client doesn't know that you sent a text and then we've had this before too. We've had so many things, right? And so you're like, oh, I'll just write the offer tomorrow. I already talked to the guy. As soon as you wrote it the next day, house was gone.
Anytime I don't get a contract back from the selling side, in a certain amount of time, I start getting a little worried. It's like, well, what's going on here? How come we don't have that back yet? Oh, they're working late. They're going to send it tonight. And the morning comes, you still don't have it yet. And you're like, oh, what happened? Did they get a better offer in somewhere between there? Slow playing a little bit? Or is it genuine? I was like,
yeah, we get slow played a lot, and I don't have a tolerance for agents that slow play me. And so we have the right questions to ask agents about, hey, are you going to slow play this or are you going to accept our offer as soon as it comes through? And as soon as you accept it, can you go ahead and change it in the MLS? Just asking, would you go ahead and do that for me? Would you go ahead and change it in the MLS to pending? So you slow down any type of offer that might be coming in because we've had that too. It's like, well, it's not executed quite yet. Mm-hmm. They're signed it, but we didn't execute it. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay.
So it's a full price offer. It's what your client wants.
Right.
So let's just go ahead and sign it.
Yeah.
Quit waiting around.
That's usually on the agent. And sometimes if it's an offer that's under that you negotiated and there's $5,000 or $10,000 off the asking price, that seems to be where it happens a little bit more also. But usually with the right questions and the right attitude towards it and getting that other agent on board and saying, hey, look, I'm sure there might be another offer coming in a day or two, but however, you have mine right in your hand right now. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So you already agreed to it. Can you get it signed and get it back over here? And then you just blame it on your buyer. Right. So my buyer's getting a little bit nervous and wants to go continue to look at property. So if we don't hear something back, and I hate giving the ultimatum, it really pisses me off when I get it. Like, we want an answer by 5:00. And it's just like, cool. How's it feel to want? I'm not going to get you an answer by 5:00. I told you my guy's traveling and he's on a plane until 9:00, so I can't do anything about that. So anyway, expectations with other agents is a good one to clear up. So 5 reasons you aren't closing the sale. That was them today. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all handled by my man Marshall Tucker over here, buyer's agent extraordinaire. If you ever want to reach out to Marshall, it's info@realestateontherocks.com, or his cell phone number is
512-763-6547.
Why do you say that voice like that?
It's better that way.
Oh, yeah. Ladies are strongly encouraged to call. That's so stupid. James shaking his head over here.
That's my old, we call it a computer technician voice.
Oh,
when I used to answer
I thought it was like your sexy radio voice.
It could be my sexy radio voice.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously we've gone over on time.
Don't call me with sexy voices because my wife might be there.
She's gonna dot your I's for you. Cross your T's and dot your I's. Uh-huh. All right. So in summary today, once again, 5 reasons you aren't closing the sale. You have to get people to know, like, and trust you. You have to ask the right qualifying question. An easy script for that is who, what, why, where, and when. Ask anything that might hold up the sale or stop the process in its tracks. You have to ask the right questions. And remember to uncover as many important problems as possible. Ask the questions. And so if you need more of these scripts, if you need more of these questions to ask, just reach out to Marshall. He dropped his phone number a minute ago, or you can reach us at info@realestateontherocks.com. And if you'd like, James slipping over there. All right, so lenders. Let's talk about lenders real quick. Magic Mike. Mike Harrell with Guaranteed Rate is our guy on our show. He'll be a guest pretty soon. We keep saying that. I feel like he's like Matt Damon to Jimmy Kimmel Show. It's like
Does he exist?
We ran out of time for Matt Damon. So he will be on the show soon to talk a little bit about more what he does and how he is a loan specialist here in Texas, California, and Arkansas. So reach out to Mike at info@realestateontherocks.com. If you are EXP curious, of course, you can text Join EXP to 88000. Don't forget to smash that 5-star button and subscribe to the podcast, and it will show up in your podcast player of choice every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For Real Estate on the Rocks, I'm Dave Snowberger. Deuces.
I'm out.